Nick Diaz versus Matt Brown. What do I think would happen if these two fought? It's 2016. It's late July. Nick's suspension's getting ready to be over. Who should he fight? Who is he going to fight? If he fights Matt Brown, how would this fight go down? Well, first of all, Nick Diaz in his prime and strike force would absolutely destroy Matt Brown. He would box him up and submit him. That's what would happen. What would happen right now if they fought? Nick has not won a fight for a long time. Matt Brown's a tough opponent. He really is. I still have Nick Diaz, even though Nick has not won a fight, hasn't been fighting. I still think Nick would win. Nick would win this fight. How would he win it? I can't see Matt Brown. I really do think it's a good opponent for Nick because I can't see Matt Brown running away from Nick Diaz. Because in a 3-round fight, that's how Matt Brown could win this fight. Just trade and move, trade and move, and because a lot of Nick's been known for throwing a lot of punches, but it's a lot of those punches is volume punches. Guys are starting to get dazed. It's not so much that Nick outboxes them in brief exchanges. If you don't give Nick a chance to get that going, like Carlos kinda did, you could possibly beat Nick on the scorecards. And I guess the guy running away, you think that they would be the ones that lose if it's close on the scorecards because they're running away. But that's the only way. But Matt Brown's not known for doing that. But with a full training camp, he could possibly win the fight doing that. But man, I just don't see Matt Brown doing that. I just don't think it's his personality. But that's what it would take for him to win. Because if he were to stand there and trade with Nick, he could possibly knock Nick out. Nick's never been knocked out, but that doesn't mean he couldn't get knocked out. It's highly unlikely that he would get knocked out. But everybody's chin catches up with him at some point in time. But Nick's had so much rest, his brain and everything, so I don't think Nick's going to get knocked out. He was on pace to get knocked out because he kept, he would go in there with Scott Smith and Paul Daly, and he would get hit by these guys. They would hit him, but it's only a matter of time taking punches like that in back-to-back fights that you're going to get knocked out. But Nick's had so much recovery time, so much rest. So I don't think Matt Brown would knock him out. I do think Nick would outbox him. I don't expect Nick's boxing to be as sharp. I don't think his cardio and his fight pace to be as on point. Even if he's in as good a shape, he's a little bit older than he was. I'm talking about Nick Diaz when he was in strike force, and he's not going to be as on point. He's a little bit rusty. He needs to, you get that groove. You got to get that groove going. And but I do think Nick would win the fight. But I don't have Nick winning the fight by a lot, just because Nick has not fought. He looked good against Anderson Silva. He looked better than I thought he was going to look. But there was also a timid, a little bit gun-shy Anderson and a much older Anderson Silva. So would Nick win? I don't know, man. Matt Brown might even just win the fight, and I'd hate to see that, but I don't know. I got Nick winning by a slight margin. He should be able to submit. Here's the thing with the Diaz brothers. Nick Diaz, his ground game is by far superior to Matt Brown. Matt Brown's known for getting submitted, but Nick won't go in there and try and take people down. He won't. He clinches with people all the time. You think he'd learn to judo throw him, get him on the ground, but we've seen Nick for years in the clinch, up against the cage, grabbing on people's shorts, kneeing them in the leg. I mean, how many times have we seen Nick doing that? Well, why not, do some judo throws and, do something like that, get these guys on the ground. Nick won't do that, though. If they somehow end up in the ground early, Nick will submit Matt Brown. But it's more likely that Matt Brown will get rocked and they'll end up on the ground later in the fight, and Nick would submit him if he's going to submit him. But really, Nick should train to take the fight to the ground. He's a superior grappler. There's no need to stand there and punch and trade with these fighters. You know, and you think guys like Scott Smith, there's no need to stand there and trade with Scott Smith. Get the fight in the ground. You spend 3 rounds in the ground, there's a better chance you're going to submit Scott Smith. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I have Nick Diaz winning by a small margin. But really, it shouldn't be. They need some better coaching or something. But that will be a good fight. That's what I think will happen. I think Nick will win, just barely. Matt may win. I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Brown won. More active fighter and everything, man. You got to fight. You got to fight. Suspensions and just clowning around fights. Oh, I still have Nick as the favorite though, just because he's just more skilled. I'll see you guys later.